I'm Rita. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Worth Reading. And welcome to a new reading vlog. In this vlog, I thought it would be really fun if I let a color wheel pick my TBR for the week. I have never tried that before, and I think it would be a great and fun way to pick a TBR because I still have a little bit of control over the books that I choose. And I don't know, I just thought it would be a fun experiment to try and see if I can find any new favorites before the year ends. Now, if you have been following for the last couple of vlogs that I've been filming, you know that I'm currently reading Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I'm doing a buddy read of this with a friend of mine and we're both really loving it. We've been taking our time with it. I am a little bit behind on my buddy read actually, but I'm almost on page 500, so I'm a little bit over halfway through. And I am just really obsessed with this book. Obviously, I won't tell you a lot about it because it's the third book in a trilogy, so there's a lot of lore here that I cannot share, but just know that I'm having an amazing, beautiful, grand old time with this, and I am reading it on my Kindle, of course, because I do not carry this around with me. And I will also be making progress in this book during this vlog because I've been dragging it for a little bit too long. Even though I have been really enjoying my time with it, I feel like I just need to step it up a little bit and also just pick up the pace on my buddy read. But with that being said, I have no set plans for this week for this TBR. I have a couple of books on my autumn TBR. I do have some things that I maybe would like to read, but I don't know. I'm just going to let the color wheel pick for me, and I'm going to go there on my phone and I'm going to screen record my wheel of colors. I just went on a random, but I do, okay, so this wheel that I'm currently using, which I just went on Google and found one, does not have white or black, which I feel like I would love to have black and white, because did that work? Can I do that? Did it work? I don't know, I can't tell. Okay, I think it worked. So I put it in black and white, and I'm going to start screen recording so we can see what ends up happening. I'm kind of scared. There's a lot of colors on here. Okay, so the first one is just a blue book, which I have a lot of blue books actually. So let's think about what I should choose for this one. Okay, so I'm putting you here on the same height as my TBR shelf, which is this one. I know you cannot see further down, but I have my TBR here. And so we are going to try and pick out a blue book that I feel like reading at the moment. So let's do that. So I have a couple of books here that are decidedly blue. I also have this one, which is Burial Rites, which is very blue. This feels very wintry. This would be a good pick for this time of year, but it is a little bit long. So this is one of the options. Let's try to pick something else. I also have down here the Offing, which is very blue. It does have some other colors, but it is very blue as well. So this could be another option maybe. What else do we have here? I have Anna Karenina, but I'm not reading that. That's not happening at the moment. I'm not ready for that. What else? I have Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Manson, which is a book that I have owned for a long time, and I am actually not sure if I'm still interested in this book, so this would be good for me to either read or unhaul. We also have An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, which could be a good option. These are all very much the same page count, so it's really not about that. So this could also be a good option for me. I mean, I also have some here, but Stranger Dreamer is very long. I'm not ready for that. Great Circle is also very long. Jacob's Room is a classic, and I've just finished a classic, so I'm not really in the mood for that either. I have The Man Who Fell in Love with the Moon, which is kind of like romance book. I also have Everything Sad is Untrue by Daniel Nayeri, which is a book that I am very interested in reading. So this could also be an option. And I think I'm going to stop there. I think we're going to be reading, maybe this is not how the vlog should work, but we're going to be reading the first chapter of these 5 books and picking out which one I feel like reading at the moment. But all of that will have to be done later because I do have to go make lunch. And then later on, after I make lunch, we're going to be reading a chapter of each of these books and picking out the first book of this vlog. It has been a while since we've last spoken. I had an online class today. I didn't have to go to university, but I still had my class. So that was 3 hours. Oh, you almost fell. That was 3 hours out of my day. Hello, can I do this? I think that's fine. So that was 3 hours out of my day, but I have now read the first chapter or equivalent of these 5 books, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So, the first one that I read was actually An Unkindness of Ghosts, which in real life doesn't look that blue, but honestly in the camera it does look blue enough for me to validate my choice. I'm going to move you back a little bit. I think that's better. And in this book, I didn't realize that this was kind of set in space. So this is definitely like a science fiction. So this is set on a ship, like a giant ship, like entire city or like an entire country sized ship called Matilda. And we have different slices of society in each part of the spaceship. And so our main character, Aster, is in the low-deck slums of the Matilda. And this space vessel, it says here in the synopsis, is organized much like the antebellum South. So it's very much about that time in history and reflecting what that meant for Black people. And I thought it was really interesting. I was a little bit lost in the first pages because, again, I did not read the synopsis before going into it. I preferred going into it blind. But it did mean that I was a little bit lost for the first couple of pages. But when I did realize that we were on a spaceship, I just thought, okay, I have to adjust my expectations. But overall, I really enjoyed this first chapter. I read until page 20, maybe? Yes, until page like 20. And I would rate this first chapter probably a 7 out of 10. I was really intrigued and I really enjoyed it. Moving on, we actually had some discoveries because then I read The Offing by Benjamin Myers and I read until page 21 as well. I put a little bookmark in here and I realized that not only do I not want to read this for this challenge, I don't think I want to read this at all. I did not vibe with the writing style in the slightest. This is a book about a main character who is named Robert and he is a 16-year-old following the Second World War. And he just kind of like sets off by himself to find something better. And he then strikes up a friendship with an older woman. But I just did not vibe with the writing in the slightest. I didn't like it. It was very telling and not showing at all. It was like reading a report and not in a good way. I just hated the writing. So I am unhauling this, I think, which I don't mind. I kind of want to renew my TBR anyway. I feel like some of the books there I'm just no longer interested in reading, and I feel like this is maybe one of them. Like, I just tried 20 pages of it and I just did not like the writing, and I don't think that I can get over that. I don't think that this is a case of me like adapting to the book. I feel like I just don't like it, and I don't think reading more would solve it. So I'm definitely like unhauling this book actually. And that also happened with Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Manson. I cannot tell you why I bought this book. I remember that I bought it on Vinted because it was really cheap, and I thought I was interested in reading this book. It has good reviews, but basically we're following a main character called Martha, who has been a long time married to Patrick. But she has this underlying mental health condition, and it says here that maybe Martha is just someone who finds it harder to be alive than most people, or maybe as she has long believed, something is wrong with her. And I read the first paragraph of this and I was kind of iffy about it, and then I read like the first 5 pages, and again, it's not that I did a vibe with the writing, I don't want to read this story right now. I don't feel like this would be good for me. It has a lot of focus on this relationship that she has with her husband Patrick, and the obsession of her and her husband, and like every chapter that follows, like, I met him this time, and it's all about them, and I just don't care, and I don't think I want to read this story, and I don't think I'm in a good place to read about this, and I'm just not interested in it. So if I ever do end up reading it, I don't need a physical copy. I'll just read it on my Kindle. So turns out I'm unhauling this one as well. So that was a shocking turn of events. I wasn't particularly looking for books to unhaul, but it just happened. Then I read Everything Sad is Untrue, the like first 10 pages, because this does not have chapters, and I enjoyed it. I'm keeping it, but I just didn't feel like this was a story that I wanted to read right now. So I think I'm going to be putting this off for another time. And finally, we have Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. I also read the first chapter of this, which was 32 pages. And I also felt like I really want to read this book. I'm still very much interested, but it's just not a book for right now. Again, I'm vibing. I'm mood reading this week. Yes, the colors have been chosen, but I also want to have some control over it. And I just don't feel like reading this book right now. And so, as you might have realized, the book that has conquered my attention was actually An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. I think that this is going to be a really, really interesting book. I really enjoyed the concept of, I don't really love spaceships or science fiction, but I feel like the way that this author does it, I feel like could be very interesting to me. So I'm definitely going to keep reading it today, and this is going to be the first chosen book for this vlog. I'm sorry for the longest introduction, but it just happens when you're trying a chapter, okay? Hopefully the next colors will be more specific, but I actually had a lot of blue books that I couldn't ignore. So let's read An Unkindness of Ghosts, and also I'm going to read a chapter of Assassin's Quest tonight, so I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to be reading An Unkindness of Ghosts and seeing where we end up. Good morning. It's time to give you my first update on An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. I mean, technically it's not the first update because I read 50 pages yesterday, but I have read today, this morning, up to page 100, so I'm currently almost a third of the way into it, and I've just reached part 2, which is called Metallurgy. And I'm finding this book really, really interesting so far. I feel like this author is doing a great job at slowly introducing information. I feel like they're trying really hard not to be info dumpy, which I really appreciate, because this is a whole new world. This is a whole new concept that this author has introduced in a single book that does not belong to a series. Like, this is a standalone book about this gigantic ship and this whole world that exists on Matilda, a ship in space that has its own culture, its own social hierarchies, its own politics, its own languages. There's just so much to this book, and I feel like sometimes that introduction of information is a little bit awkward, but I understand the purpose of trying really hard not to be info dumpy. So I can definitely like forgive those awkward moments, or like this doesn't feel very natural in the story for this character to be explaining this, but I need them to explain this. So, and I also feel like it's so interesting the way that this author is playing with gender, because they are a non-binary author, and the way that they introduce this kind of like, I don't know if it's technically an ethnicity or if it's more of like an identity, but there are these characters who are also they characters, and they are also kind of not even they're not even non-binary. Some of them are like actually genderless in a way that is difficult to explain without having read this book. But I'm thinking that it's really, really interesting so far. I'm really invested. We have our main character Aster, who I really care about, and the plot that is what is driving the story forward is the fact that Aster had their mother who offed herself when they were born. I think that, yeah, she is a she character, so I don't mind saying that. So when her daughter was born, Aster, the mother offed herself, and the mother did leave a lot of journals with writings in it, and she was like this really big scientist in a specific part of the ship. And so Aster really looks up to her mother, and she is now following the journals to find clues about what happened, why her mother chose to do that, especially how it might relate to some of the blackouts that are currently happening on the ships. So there are these huge blackouts, and the people that are in the lower slums, as Aster is, have been suffering from just an incredible amount of cold, and they have been like actual limbs are falling off, like people are just dying of cold also due to these blackouts. So Aster is trying to solve that mystery whilst uncovering what maybe happened to her mother. So I really enjoy that that's what's driving the plot forward. I think that it's just very, very compelling. I'm having a great time reading it. It doesn't feel like a really big story, but it is. But it feels very approachable, but it's also at the same time exploring so many different things at the same time. So I'm finding all of that very, very interesting. I'm having a good time. I'm going to read a little bit more now. Then I have to work, and then I think I might visit my grandma this afternoon. I love visiting her. I go see her at least once a week, especially now before I start working that I have more time. I really do want to spend that time with her. So I feel like I'm going to go visit her in this afternoon. But before then, I have to read for a little bit. I have to work for a little bit. And also, I have a really exciting package to pick up, and it's not a book. Okay, one of them is a book, but it's a book that I bought in October still, that only arrived now. And I have another like book related package, but it's not a book, and it's so exciting, and I'm really, really excited to see it in person. So I can't wait to go pick that up and show you that later. But for now, let's read and let's work for a little bit. Hello friends, and a happy Saturday. Let's talk about yesterday. Yesterday I had an amazing afternoon with my grandma. I had a great time, and then I got home around dinner time. I had dinner, and then my mom asked me if we wanted to watch a movie together, and I just can't say no to family quality time. And I do read alone every single night, so I thought it wouldn't be bad for me to spend a night with my mom. So we ended up watching this movie from the 90s, which is called A Perfect Murder, with Gwyneth Paltrow and Michael Douglas. And oh my god, I was so stressed, guys. never trust a man in your life. Like, I was so stressed. But anyways, it was a good movie. So today is the next day. Well, today is the next day. Well, yes. And I want to update you on how An Unkindness of Ghosts is going. And I am currently on page 155. And I'm really enjoying this book. I feel like I am really connecting with the characters. I feel like the mystery is doing a good job of driving the plot forward and moving the characters along and having a purpose in the book. And we are now starting to get to a point where it's like, okay, maybe there's something bigger than the ship. Maybe there's a bigger conspiracy going on. Maybe there's something bigger that is happening and we have to find out what it is. And I feel like the story is really expanding and growing, and I feel like this author is doing a good job of pacing that. There's still 200 pages to go, so I don't really know where it's going. I don't really know what that means, but I'm having a good time. I'm almost halfway through, and I would love to read at least until page 200 and something today. I'm going to read a little bit more now, and I'm just really enjoying this book. I'm also going to the cinema today. I've just been going to the movies. Like, I've just been enjoying watching movies instead of thinking about my life and what is going wrong in it. So I'm going to the movie by Mafalda, which is really exciting. We're going to watch Anora, and I hope that I love it. But before that, I want to show you the packages that I was talking to you about. I picked them up yesterday and I'm ready to show you. So let's start with the first one, which is a book. Let's talk about it. Okay, so as you can see, this is The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. I'm just going to take out the bubble wrapper. I bought this book because, if you remember, I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago, sorry, it's getting really dark outside. It's getting really dark in my room. It's bad, it's bad. Okay, hopefully that'll be good for the next couple of minutes. And I was trying to finish the series, which I haven't yet. I'm still missing one book. But I bought the first book and the last book, and they were actually hardcovers, and I hadn't realized that. So now I need the whole series to match or I will go insane. So I have been slowly buying it, I guess. So I bought The Bullet That Missed. This is the third book, which means that I only have the second book left to buy, but really I'm not in a hurry. When I find it at a good price, I'll buy it. But that's the reasoning behind what is happening here. So if you're not, nothing is going on the TBR. This was bought last month as well, so I didn't break my book buying in November for it. It's just, hey, it is what it is. So now I have the series to match. And now for the most exciting, so exciting part of this video. Here it is. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's put up the brightness in my camera and let's discuss this. So this is Mafalda's fault. She told me that she got this Lego because she spent a certain amount of money on the website, the Lego website, which I would never, I'm not a Lego girly, so I would never receive this. But then I saw it on Vinted, so I paid for something that someone got for free. But it's really cute. Oh my god, look at it. Like, I'm just obsessed. It is so cute. I cannot wait to build this. This will be like my first building of a Lego thing since I was like a child. But I feel like it's going to be so exciting. I cannot wait, and I think it's going to look so cute on my shelves. Just amazing. Books really are my passion, Lego. They really are. You really did that. So those are my updates, guys. That's what's going on here in this bedroom. I just filmed my winter TBR. I have to go edit it. I'm still working on my university project. It's about to rain outside, but I have a couple of hours before I have to leave for the movies. So I'm going to be productive until then. So I will see you in a little bit. I'm going to read and then work on some things, and I'll see you later. updates to give you about An Unkindness of Ghosts. I am very much nearing the end. I have about 60 pages left, maybe a little bit less, and I have some thoughts. Okay, so again, I'm really enjoying this book. It is this author's debut, which I think can speak to some of the small issues that I'm having with it. I feel like during this middle halfway part, I feel like it has lost me a little bit. We've lost a little bit of that mystery that was driving the plot forward, and without that, I just felt a little bit lost. There were also some chapters with other perspectives in it, which it's not that I didn't enjoy, it's just that it came rather suddenly and I didn't really understand why we would have this shift of perspectives. And yeah, it's just an issue of the middle parts lost my attention a little bit, but I'm still really enjoying it. I feel like the discussions around race, around poverty, around power, around even being disabled, ableism, gender, there are so many topics and themes in this book that I feel like are so well dealt with. I feel like it's not taking away from the story, it's actually adding to the story and making us realize how absurd some of these ideas are. So by putting the antebellum South in space, right, setting this something that was very horrifically but true in such a strange context as a giant spaceship, just really shows how absurd these concepts are, how dangerous these concepts are, how horrifying it is that these things happened. And it's very brutal in that way. There's a lot of brutality in this book. There's also a lot of violence. There's a lot of really, really hard things that are said and really diminishing things that are said, which is really, really sad. But yeah, I'm finding it really interesting. It did lose me a little bit in the middle, but I'm hoping that this ending will push through and give me something that I really enjoy. Like, I have no idea how this is going to end since it is a standalone, so I cannot wait to find out. I don't know if it's going to be a happy ending, but I really want to find out. So I'm going to push through and finish this book, and I will come to you with my final thoughts and my rating so we can move on to the next book. Okay, it's a little bit later. I'm still in the same position, but I have now finished An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, and I am ready to give you my final thoughts and review. I think that in terms of rating, I'm going to give this a 3.5, but absolutely round it up to a 4. I think that this is so innovative. I think this is so creative. It's such a beautiful way to tell a story that is not a new story, you know, it's about the past and the consequences that it has. And I feel like the other book that I've read by this author, which is The Deep, also deals a lot with this trauma that has been passed throughout the generations. And I feel like this author does such a great job at trying to disentangle that trauma and talk about the actual consequences of it in today's life, and especially in Black people today, regardless of their gender. But there's a specific focus also in women, and then also on non-binary bodies and queer people. But I feel like my problems with this book are purely technical, are purely in terms of the pace, because the middle part lost me a little bit. So they're really not problems that I had with the story, with the characters. It's more of like technical things that I wish, because I feel like that's what happens, because when you read a 5-star book, it's kind of like the thought of you wouldn't change many things, or you wouldn't change anything actually. And I feel like when I read a book that is not 5 stars, it's because I would like to change something. Not, which is very much a struggle to say, because I don't feel like I could do this book better than this author. I could never do this book better than this author. I just wish when I was reading that some things were a little bit different, if that makes any type of sense. But mostly in terms of the pacing and the fact that it lost me a little bit in the middle. The ending was also a little bit rushed. I liked where it went. I liked where we ended up, but I feel like it was a little bit rushed. But honestly, this was this author's debut, and nothing that I'm saying is truly a demerit. I think this book is like a strong 4, and I would highly recommend it simply because of the themes, the creative side of this, the way that this author tells a story, the way that they approach topics so complex as race, trauma, gender, the human body. It's so great. Yeah, like all my problems with it are purely like technical and in terms of pacing, because other than that, this was very beautiful. The writing itself is also very beautiful. There are certain quotes that I actually wrote down that I really enjoyed. So I would absolutely recommend this. I'm really happy that not that I finally read this in terms of having owned this book for a long time, because I bought this book in September, so it's very, very recent. But it has been on my radar for a long time now, because I have enjoyed The Deep by this author, and I would like to continue on with their backlist. And they had a new book coming out this year called Model Home, which is kind of horror, but also very much in line with this types of themes that this specific author likes to explore, and I feel like they do such an amazing job at exploring them. So I like to see their approach and how these themes will be relevant in different genres, because we have like science fiction, kind of like dystopian, then we have the deep, which is very much like also fantasy science fiction, in which we have these like mermaid like creatures. Then we have Model Home, which is a horror book. So I really enjoy the fact that this author is trying to approach the same themes but through a different lens and through a different genre, and I feel like it always leads to new conversations in different contexts, even though they are the same general themes, if that makes any type of sense. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, and I'm very, very happy that I finally read it. And also, it was another book off of my Reddit R Fantasy 2024 bingo card, which I don't know if you remember this, if you've seen me do this before. I actually have to update it now because I have read a few things from this list, so I am going to update this. But before I do that, I would like to pick out a different color to know what our next book is going to be, which I am a little bit scared of, but I'm going to start screen recording. And guys, I'm just gonna go spin and see what we get. Pink. Do I have pink books? We need the shelves. We need to go to the shelves. Okay, we're here on the shelves, and boy do I have a pink book. But here's my problem with this pink book. The problem is that this was a long time ago supposed to be, oh my god, can I get this out? This was a long time ago supposed to be a buddy read. This is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. This was supposed to be a buddy read with my friend Bia, who I've been talking about a lot lately, but it's because we're in our, how do I say this word? Buddy read bag recently. So I have to talk to her first to see if I could read this book, because if we're still doing a buddy read, whenever that happens, I don't want to read this book alone. So I'm going to find another book that has pink in it, and I think that could be How Beautiful We Were. It does have some pink in here. Could this be it? The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. also has some pink here, so that could also be nice. What else? On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous has some pink here. Okay, I think that those are a few options that we have. This is more of like a peach, so this doesn't really count. So I'm going to bring these options with me and we'll find out what I'm going to do. Okay, I am back and I have thought about it, and I definitely want Her Majesty's Royal Coven to be a buddy read. I'm really sorry, but we specifically bought this book together, so we both own this book because we bought it at the same time, because we wanted to read it together, and it just doesn't feel right that I read this book right now for this vlog. So I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to be really honest. The book that I mostly feel like reading is definitely On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I feel like I have been meaning to read this book for also a long time, and I would love to read it. I've bought this book earlier this year and I've just been thinking about it ever since, and it was on my end of year book tag kind of loose TBR that I made, and it does have some pink lettering here also. Like, it is pink. Can you, is it focusing on that? I don't think it is. See, it is pink, so it does have some pinkness in it. Because The Prophets, I really want to read this book, but I'm not gonna lie, this is also about slavery in the South, and after reading An Unkindness of Ghosts, I just need something a little bit less heavy. I feel like this is going to be such a heavy book, and An Unkindness of Ghosts was already so brutal that I feel like I need a little bit of time between them. And then How Beautiful We Were, I would probably pick this for a green cover if I'm being really honest. And I really want to read this book too, but I don't know, would you be upset if I chose On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous? Would you? Because like, it does have pink in it, right? I really want to read this book, and I feel like it could become a favorite of the year, and I would love that. I would love to find new favorites before the year ends. Okay, I'm gonna read this book. Guys, I'm so sorry. If you don't agree with me, I get it, but I really want to read this book, so this is our next read for the vlog. It's also short, so I feel like it could be a good time, because I'm posting this vlog in like 3 days. So if I could finish 2 books until then, that would be amazing. So I'm definitely going to choose this one, and I'm so excited to get started. I am currently over halfway through On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I suddenly forgot the title of this book, I'm sorry. I am 140 pages into it, which means I have about 100 pages left. And I mean, this isn't news to you, right? This book has been very well known, very well loved for the last couple of years that it has been published. I actually do not remember when this book was published. 2019. So this book has been out for almost 6 years now. So me saying that this book is very, very good is not news to you, it's not surprising, but I am really enjoying it. I don't know if it's a 5. It doesn't feel like it, because this is basically told in vignettes, and if you don't know for some reason what this book is about, this is, I actually thought this was kind of like a memoir. I do assume that there are some autobiographical elements to this story, but it's actually fictional. But it's about this Vietnamese boy who is writing a letter to his mother, but it's kind of like a confessional letter because she actually can't read, and she can't read specifically English. So basically he's writing her this really long letter talking about their relationship, talking about himself and his struggles, but the mother would never read it. And so this is told in like really short vignettes, kind of, you see that it's kind of like broken up, so it makes it very easy to read. But I just don't know if a story told in vignettes with jumping back and forth in time is the most conducive to my enjoyment. I don't really love, I love vignettes maybe inside another type of story, but I don't love a book just told in vignettes, because I feel like I struggle to connect a little bit with the characters, and especially in this book we jump a lot back and forth, and I don't always understand if we are in the present or if we are in the past, and I just struggle just a tiny bit sometimes to ground myself and understand where I am as we jump from vignette to vignette. But the language in this truly is remarkable. The writing is so great. The Ocean Vuong has a really amazing way with words, and I can feel every single feeling that he wants me to feel, and it's a very heartbreaking story in its mundane, you know. It's as heartbreaking as it is mundane, because we are following this Vietnamese boy who is in the United States with his mother and his grandmother, who are both really traumatized due to the Vietnam War. They are both struggling a lot mentally, and that has put also a toll on this boy. And so there is a lot of sometimes kind of abuse, sometimes it's really heartfelt, and it's just really heartbreaking because it doesn't have any like overwhelming tragedy, but at the same time it's such a sad story, and it's a story of colonialism, a story of identity, a story of being an immigrant and what that means, and a story of queerness, of love, of family. And I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I'm so glad that I finally am reading this book. It has been such a long time coming, and I am very happy with myself and with this challenge for having picked it up, and I cannot wait to finish it. I'm going to read maybe a couple of more pages so I could reach part 3 tonight as I get into bed. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And I also wanted to mention that I have read another chapter of Assassin's Quest. I'm currently on page 550, and I'm still really loving this book. It's amazing just how well this author writes, and how much I love her writing, and how much I'm just sucked into the story. Like every time that I sit down to read a chapter, I don't have to reread a single word. Like I'm just so in it. It's amazing. I love her writing so much. I love this story. I love these characters. I never want this to end, but it must. So those are my reading updates for tonight, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully having finished On Earth Briefly Gorgeous, and maybe starting another book. We'll see how that goes, okay? And I also would really like to build my Lego tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll have time because of my university project. But I would really love to build my Lego. That would be amazing. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, and I hope that I sleep well tonight because it has been rough in the last couple of days. Hello, it's a new day and I want to update you. I don't have a lot of reading updates, but I do want to tell you that I'm currently on page 180. So I've read about like 40 pages since yesterday, which is not a lot, but I only have a little bit left of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I'm still really enjoying it. It's not a favorite, but it is a very, very beautiful book and I am liking it. But I'm actually about to go leave my house because I have to go pick up a gift that I bought for a friend whose birthday was yesterday, but I'm meeting her tomorrow. And so I am going to pick up her birthday gift, and I might check out some books there. And what else? And then I think I might pass by the library because there is this book that I've been thinking about picking up, or I want to search there to see if they have anything that interests me. I'm not sure if I'll go yet because I still need to work on that university project that I've been kind of procrastinating working on, but I think it'll be a good time. And yeah, I won't buy any books because it's November book buying ban, okay? But I might buy a book for my friend if I find anything interesting. So just wanted to tell you that we are about to leave the house. I'm bringing this with me just in case, and I'm bringing you with me, the camera, just in case. And yeah, let's go pick up that gift so we can come back and work on the things that we've been procrastinating working on. I'm at the park and I do not have a microphone, so I hope that you can hear this. I have been reading a little bit of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. There's a lot of water. I don't know if you can hear me well, but I have been reading this, and I do want to tell you that I did not know that drug use and overdoses and drug abuse were so present in this book. So if that's a trigger to you, you have to know that I am really not enjoying. It's not a personal trigger to me, but I'm really not enjoying reading that, and I had no idea that that was such a big part of this book. So if you also don't know that, now you do, so do with that information what you will. And yeah, it's making me really uncomfortable. I know it's supposed to, but it is making me very, very uncomfortable. But I am enjoying being at a park and it feels good and I'm happy. So I'm just going to keep reading before I go back home. Hello friends, I had such a nice time reading at the park today. It felt really healing to leave the house. I haven't been leaving my house a lot, which I know is a mistake. I know, okay, I think you're tilted. Wait. Is that better? I don't know. I feel like it is a mistake, but at the same time, like, I'm just enjoying, because in 2025 I plan to be working. I plan to be a girl with a big girl job. And so I am really just enjoying this time, like being able to be at home and not doing much. But at the same time, I feel like I have worse days sometimes when I stay the whole day at home. So I did go out today and I went with a purpose of buying something. But at the same time, I was just like, I need to be at the park. I need to be reading, I need to be outside, I need to be with nature, I need to be around other people, and I feel like it was really, really good for me. But other than that, I do want to tell you that I have finished On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I feel like I'm going to give this a 4-star. My qualms or my problems with this book, does qualms exist? When English is your second language, sometimes the things just come out at you. Like, I don't know if that's a real word. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book, but if I had to say what I didn't really enjoy about it, again, the vignettes. It works, but at the same time, the jumping around in time doesn't really work for me sometimes. It makes me hurt. It makes it harder for me to connect with the characters and where they are at certain moments. And I like to explore that instead of just constantly jumping back and forth. And it left me without really understanding what the present of this book is. How old our main character is. What are the current circumstances between him and his mom? Because supposedly this whole book is a letter to his mom. But she's alive. But I can't really tell how old he is because we jump around so much in time that I really just can't tell what the present is for this character as he's writing this. And perhaps it doesn't matter, but it just doesn't allow me to fully connect with the book. And other than that, I thought the language was the best part of this book. Ocean Vuong is clearly a very, very talented writer. I thought some passages made a lot of sense, others not so much. But I really was not expecting for the drug abuse to be, and drug addiction to be such a big part of this book. And I feel like it just made me really, really uncomfortable. And I don't know, I know it's not, I can't really say, oh, I wish this wasn't in the book, because I think this has a lot of autobiographical elements to it. So maybe it's like a fictional memoir, those kind of things. Maybe, I'm not really sure. So I can't really say that, but it made me really uncomfortable. It made me want to skip ahead in the book. I didn't, but it made me want to. And I wish we had focused more on the theme of family, which was probably my favorite part of this whole book. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I'm not, again, like I mentioned in the previous clip, I'm not telling you anything new. You know that this is really good. So if you've been on the fence about it, I think that you should read it. I feel like it's well worth to read. It just wasn't my favorite thing in the whole world, if you know what I mean. Okay, so this is a really abrupt change of scenery, and that is because yesterday I thought about picking out another book right after that clip where I was talking about On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I considered, I spun the wheel, I chose a book, but then I just realized it would take me a long time to read that book, or at least I would have to delay this video a little bit, or a little bit too much than what I would like to. And so I have decided to only read 2 books for this vlog. I hope that you don't mind. How I read 2 books and this is still an hour-long video, I don't know. I just love to yap, I guess. That's what I'm finding out about myself. I love to yap. With that being said, this is a wrap-up clip. So let's wrap up the vlog and tell you about the 2 books that I did read, which were An Unkindness, oh, they're backwards. An Unkindness of Ghosts and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. These are both really, really solid books that I ended up really enjoying. They were both, like, rounded up overall, they were both 4 stars, which I think is a great thing, right? I read 2 4-star books in a single week. And starting with An Unkindness of Ghosts, I thought that this book was so unique. The writing is really, really beautiful. This author is so talented. I cannot wait to continue on reading with their backlist. The themes in this book are so worth the read in their approach in such an interesting and unique way. I just thought that the demerits of this book for me are in the technical details, the pacing, because it really lost me about halfway through. The ending was a little bit rushed as well, but honestly it was so worth the read because of just how creative and unique this book is, this story is, how real the characters are. And I feel like I took a lot from this book, and I feel like anyone who reads this book will take a lot from it. So I highly recommend that you do check it out. I feel like it's so worth the read. Especially if you're someone who already enjoys sci-fi. I think that if you already are a sci-fi person, then this is a really unique take on the themes usually explored in sci-fi. And then we have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and I also objectively really enjoyed this book. I thought the writing was also amazing. This author is also extremely talented. I just thought that the demerit for this are also in the format. I just learned this, I'm not really a vignette type of person, maybe in a short story, but when it's a whole novel like that, it's not my favorite. There's a lot of jumping around. I feel like I couldn't connect properly with the characters and the themes that we were exploring in each vignette because they were over so fast. But overall, the writing in this really is beautiful. But I will say, check the trigger warnings before you read this book. I didn't know it would be so heavy, especially in relation to drugs and drug abuse. I really didn't know that. It caught me a lot by surprise. I didn't enjoy reading about it, so please do check out the trigger warnings before you read this book. But objectively, I also think that it's very much worth the read. It's a beautiful book, and I'm glad that I finally read it. Overall, I will say that I really enjoyed this challenge. I thought it was a really fun way to pick out my TBR. I don't know how I never tried this before, and I think I would really enjoy trying it again in a different vlog. I really had a great time with this vlog, especially because, guys, I am on a mission to read that physical TBR like the most that I can before the year ends. And so trying out these fun challenges and helping me pick out books from the TBR has been really fun, and also really productive because I read 2 books and I also unhauled another 2. With that being said, let me know if you've ever tried a challenge this way. Would you like to see me try it again in a different type of vlog? And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. And I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.